Laurentiu. I think we can start.
Hello, hi guys. Welcome to our March webinar from Mindit.io. Today we are going to talk about AI-powered low-code tools. We are going to find out, actually we are going to see them in action. I'm Laurentiu Mitroae, I'm head of innovation of Mindit, and together with me is Radu. It's one of our best user interface designers.
Hi, everyone.
So let's jump in. What we are going to discuss today about, we are going to discuss about the key trends in the low-code space. We are going to see two different paradigms. One is the traditional low-code development platforms, and the other one is AI-powered low-code development platforms. One important thing, which will be really special, we are going to see them in action, yeah? And we are going to see the same application being developed with two different platforms. We will see the main differences between the approaches. We'll discuss about them. We'll share our experiences. We'll try to have an overview of the low-code ecosystem and try to identify what to expect in this space. So let's go on. Like a couple of years ago, Gartner predicted that 70% of new applications in enterprises will be developed with low-code solutions. Well, I don't think we are really there yet, not on the enterprise size, but there is a very interesting signal that happens within the last two cohorts for Y Combinator. A quarter of those companies had 95% of their code written with AI. And I think we need to actually look at this aspect very careful and understand what will happen, yeah, because actually this kind of changes and this kind of impact will be seen across different industries, companies, different enterprise sizes, and so on. So usually the guys which are going for Y Combinator are guys which are applying technology from the early stage, and this is a very strong signal. And the kind of tools that they are using, it's the kind of tools that will be used in the future by enterprises. We observe several important trends before we jump into the demos. One is AI integration. And when I talk about AI integration, it's not how you integrate AI within the application, but how AI is used to develop application. And here are areas where designs are translated within user interfaces, in which specifications are translated in code, in which applications are optimized by AI, data management, content management, flow management with AI. All those are things which are happening with a very high speed currently. One important aspect that we've noticed is the rise of citizen developers. What's the understanding of citizen developers are actually personal with not a technical background that are starting to develop applications very fast. Business users that are prototyping very fast. And actually, this is great news. Yeah, if somebody has a great idea, he can build a prototype or an MVP quite fast. We've seen startups rising by developing their applications using local platforms. Real-time collaboration, we believe the future, how applications are developed, will change. We actually see a reinvention of peer programming in that space, in which we'll have like a designer with a business analyst working together, developing the application of the prototype, or developer with a business analyst. Things are changing. Low code is moving a lot in the cloud. Collaboration is going to the next level. This is really exciting, what's going on. We see a lot of specialization in this field. We see tools which are going on specific niches. Like you have, of course, business process automation, you have, content management, legal solutions for legal, for finance, and things like that, yeah. And adoptions in enterprises is growing. They have the tendency to use local platforms for business process automation, but they are actually adopting more and more low-code solutions in building applications, or at least prototypes in first phases. So we are going to look into and test them had to have two different paradigms. One is a traditional low-code platform, and another one is AI-powered low-code platform. In the traditional low-code platform, the experience is based on visual programming with drag and drop interfaces where you configure stuff. In the low-code platform, this is built on the revolution in NLP, in language, large language models and stuff like that. You actually talk, you prompt your application up, yeah? So let's see what we are going to do today. Radu, would you help me?
Thanks.
That's your
Thanks,
design.
Laurentiu. So today, what we'll build is a travel assistant, a single screen app where you have on the left side the general inputs, and on the right side you have the output, the actual travel itinerary, and the image with the selected city. So what we started from was some Figma screens that I designed. Because that's usually how we start projects. And the challenge was to see if how much time and how the experience is between these two types of low code and no code platforms.
And usually the experience when we build application, we start from a design. So design is conceptualized by Radu in this case. And there's a process in which this design, which has multiple screens, is translated within a running application. So that's exactly that we are trying to do right now.
And these are the platforms we'll work with. The full stack no code app builder bubble.io, which is self-explanatory. It's a platform where you're using drag and drop interface. You can basically build any type of app you can imagine. Versus the lovable.dev, which its co-founder claims would be the last piece of software. That is basically has a chat interface, and you using prompts, it automatically builds your app.
Yeah, so it's like Lovable. It's one of the applications which went viral within the last month. It's the fastest growing startup in Europe, and well, it's great. But in the same time, we'll see, how great it is to start up application, but you see some challenges that you have there. And actually we'll disclose and we'll talk about that as we'll build applications.
Yeah.
So we'll start first with the Bubble.io experience for building this application. Radu, can you take over?
Yeah, sure. So I'll take the screen from you real quick. Okay. So first of all, we started trying to import, as Bubble has an import feature from Figma, which is pretty simple to use. We tried this import feature, but unfortunately, as you'll see, what it gave us was the layout, but it's not responsive. It's made out of divs and not actual usable interactable components and a bunch of text. So that's why I decided, okay, we'll have to build the layout from scratch inside Bubble. This process took about an hour. It's not very complicated in my case because I have a lot of experience with web builders, and even if you're familiar with Figma, it's pretty intuitive and pretty similar. You have a collection of default components you can use to drag and drop and build your layout. You have configurable styles, which are if you change the master style, the entire app will update. Same with components. You can build components styles and update them and keep things dynamic and also responsive.
And one thing to notice here is actually you have like full control of each element that you put on the interface. So that's one of the advantages that we can see.
Yeah, you can pretty much configure any element as much as you want. Here in this case, we had the input of traveler types, which are some toggleable chips, which we don't have in default Bubble. So I said, okay, you either can search through their plugin repository and see if there's something similar to that, or I decided, okay, I'll try building my own component and try programming it and styling it the way I want, okay? So After some time, I managed to build this component, make it dynamic, and make it pull from a list of options that I have in Bubble's backend. Finally, here again, another case where there was something missing. I needed a button with an icon inside. They didn't have that, so I said, okay, I'll build my own icon button. This was probably the easiest component to build. Here I was searching for icons. You can easily find them. There are free plugins, paid plugins, but you can usually find what you need.
One thing to notice here is Radu, it's a designer, so he really wanted to have the design one-to-one. So he spent
Yeah,
time doing it like that, yeah.
yeah.
How many hours you are now in the process of building it up?
I think at this point
That
it's
was your
about
speed.
4 hours. Yeah, so we're halfway there. This was probably the most difficult part. So when choosing the city, I needed to have a drop-down list of suggestions of cities. So I decided to use Google Places API, but I did not have a default component in Bubble that would have this function, like a drop-down with suggestions that I click and the input text is filled automatically. So I built my own. That was a tricky process, but eventually I managed to do it with a lot of help from actually ChatGPT, which knows some context about Bubble, so that was very helpful.
So in that case,
And
you were going outside in ChatGPT, putting some
yeah,
questions and going back. Yeah, so it was not like, not yet. Yeah.
yeah, it's not integrated yet, but I think this week they announced they will have some kind of AI assistant, so hopefully that process will be more streamlined in the future. So here finally you can see I have a drop down with the city suggestions, which are dynamically pulled from the Places API, and when clicking on them, they are actually inputted in the text field. So it works finally after 3 hours. Um, the next thing was making sure it all looks according to the mockups. And then again, some minor things which took a bit less time, like having different states since we have a single screen app. We have different states of this screen. So here I'm configuring like the loading screen, then the screen in which we display the output which for which we need an entity in the Bubble database. So here I'm configuring an itinerary entity which has inputs and outputs, which we use to gather all this data, which we then send to OpenAI API, and then get the output back. So you need to have a bit of, let's say, coding or developer knowledge, at
To be
least some general
structured, yeah.
concept. Yeah.
Because
To
you are not a developer, but you're like a structured person.
yeah. These things are explained pretty clearly in the tutorials Bubble offers. So I was able to easily grasp these concepts with their help. Here you can see I managed to successfully get all the data from the inputs inside the database. The chips again were a challenge because they're custom made. So again, an extra hour was spent on making this custom component work. Here, the setting up the OpenAI API prompt. This was pretty easy. You just dynamically get the data from the database and build the prompt around it.
The idea was just to give some clarification. The OpenAI was used to provide the itinerary. Yeah, you select
Yeah, exactly.
location,
Yeah.
give me an itinerary.
Yeah, both of us used the OpenAPI to get our travel itinerary. So after that works, the final step was getting the image, which again, I used Google Places API since it already offers the images. So that was pretty straightforward, just a few more configurations, making a flow to get that from the API, and that's it. We basically have our app. All in all, this process took a bit under 8 hours. So basically a day's work. Yeah, you do need to have a bit of knowledge on this coding side, maybe even a bit of knowledge on the interface side, but I think with after going through the documentation and watching a few of their tutorials, you can pretty much get the gist of it and start building whatever you want. Yeah, that's it. So
Okay, then now let me take this over and see how you can actually do this with the new kind of tools, which are
more
being
impressive,
developed
probably.
as we speak. Yeah, and we choose Lovable. There are a couple of them that are more or less on the same level, and let's see how the experience is there. Yeah. So the process is exactly the same. We started from the Figma design. So from Figma, we use the plugin, which is Builder.io. Builder.io is used actually to translate the interfaces to React components, and then it can export it directly to Lovable. Yeah. So currently, this plugin is using the Figma components and building different kind of artifacts. Yeah. And this is a process which takes a couple of minutes. It works, is doing his job, and then I have the option to launch the project in Lovable. Yeah. And what you see now, it's in real time. Yeah, it's actually Lovable. It's building up the code. Yeah, it's building up the project as a developer will do based on those Figma designs. And in like 5 minutes, you have the main screen up and running. Yeah, so the entire process that you've seen earlier at Radut to design the screen actually here was quite fast. Yeah. Now I had to add as well the location information, comparing with Radu, which went and integrate places. I just asked him to fill it out with the capitals of the word. Yeah, so this was quite easy. I took a shortcut, which is good enough for the demo. I was a little
you
lazy.
cheated a bit at this part.
Yeah, I cheated a little bit. And then I start to click around and see how the interface is. Then I saw, okay, type of travelers, I can have multiple selections. I saw there's an error when I click on them, which this was because, you know, the information was submitted all together and there was not too much logic behind the application. And then I started to correct it. Like I wanted to have options for budget a little bit larger. I want actually to have the type of travelers as a single option, and I corrected that. And here is when I'm actually prompting and telling like, look, when I'm doing a selection, don't try to do anything. Just save that information and we'll use it later on when we build the plan, yeah? So I just prompted that. Then he went, he's done the changes. You can see actually the code and we'll see this later on. So yeah, this is me writing the prompt there.
So you still need to have like a bit of knowledge about how things
Yeah, the
work
thing is you need to
to be
know
able
how
to
to
explain.
structure it, what to request, what is the flow, what are the important aspects of it, and so on, yeah?
Yeah.
Then I said, okay, this is the application, seems okay, let me see what's going on when I'm pressing the button. When I'm asking for the itinerary to happen. I think like here I'm like half an hour within the process. Okay, then I see failed to generate. Okay, no surprise for me. I was expecting because I didn't configure anything for OpenAI. I'm a developer, so actually at this point, probably somebody which doesn't have some development skills will actually wonder what they can do. So here I saw in the code that there has to be a key provided somewhere. And I said, okay, where should I put the key? I never read the documentation of Lovable. I just jump in to work with it. And then I asked the AI, tell me where I can put the OpenAI key. Guess what? He told me 2 options and he took a decision for me, which was like, okay, we have an AI with a character here, great. One option was to have the key in code, but that's not good. That's not a good practice. And the other one, he suggested me to have the key on the interface, which again is not a good practice. But anyway, I said, okay, it works for the demo. And look, it went to OpenAI, he got the itinerary information, and he created me how this itinerary should be displayed. He thought this is great. But then I know if God will see that, will actually not be happy.
Yeah, it's very interesting that he kind of made up a way that he thinks
Yeah.
should be displayed. Yeah.
And then I know that I will have my, you will have your complaints about that. And then I said, okay, let me test something else. Let me take a picture. So let's not import the Figma, but just showing him a picture to see what he can do. So I showed him a picture and I told him, show me the itinerary in that format. And guess what? It's done a really great job. Well, actually, first there was an error because a title was missing from the OpenAI request, a title from the itinerary, but he managed to actually fix that on the fly when I asked him to fix. So it was a small bug, which
That's very interesting that it actually generates bugs, but is also able to fix them.
yeah, because actually, yeah. So look, this is the itinerary. So this is very nice. And I think that's the moment where I've tried to push it, okay, not too much, but where things are starting to get complicated. I wanted to have that header on top of the itinerary, like if you go to Paris with Paris and stuff like that. So I asked him specifically, use Google search images and get me an image and put it there, yeah? And that's where my AI buddy has his own personality and told me, oh, look, great, you want to use that, but I suggest you to use Unsplash because they have an open API. You can use it without any key, without any authentication. And I said, well, okay, let's try that. I was curious what he have done there, so I checked the code. And then I said, okay, let me try. Let me see if it works. Yeah, he come with suggestions, he implemented them. And then I tested it, and guess what? Was not working. And that's the moment when I said, okay, well, my demo doesn't work really so smooth. So what luckily I'm a little bit of a developer, so I tried to investigate what's going on. And I saw it's actually, we have like 404 errors. So it means there are some resources which are not there. And then I started to do some investigation. Yeah, I tried to read the code.
So
Try to
here,
understand.
actually, since someone who would not be a developer would actually be stuck here. So
Yeah, it will be a little bit stuck, or he has to be really good on prompting and have a
yeah,
little bit of patience. Yeah. And so, yeah, so I start to investigate. And in the end, so I start to actually look on the internet in parallel and read a little bit about Unsplash and that open API that the AI was suggesting. And then I realized actually that was a deprecated API. Yeah. Which means like up to 1 year or 2 years ago, the API was up and running. And actually AI suggested to use it, but it's not yet valid. Yeah, so that's was a little bit of a problem. I can envision in the future that like Lovable will automatically validate these kind of things, because this is that's one thing that they are doing. They see where the users are blocked, and then they're improving their product. But in my case, I definitely saw that's the problem, and I asked him to switch back to my original request to use Google Images for that. Yeah, so it's I said, okay, go back, use Google Images, and add a configuration window where I can set the Google API key for that. And again, you need to know how to use this kind of third-party services when you do the application if you go on this route.
yeah, like some regular user would not know to force him to use Google Images.
Well, yeah, maybe, but yeah. And actually, look, it works. So we have the header there, but even though something strange happened now, then I have two buttons for update Google API key, one here and one here. So I said, okay, you've done a little bit more than I asked you. And then I especially asked him, okay, clean up, remove that button. So he removed it. Another nice thing, I wanted to have like a plane. This was in designs from Radu, and I know this is very important for the acceptance of our product on the market. And I want to have that plane. And with a prompt and an image, I have a flying plane there, which was looking really good, and I love that. And okay, I think I was like 1.5 hours within the process at this stage. So I had an application up and running. I was testing it. Everything seems quite good here. So this is a really good experience. So if you have a nice idea, this is great. And the next step at this moment was, okay, I want to have my application published and live, and it's as easy. You click a button to publish the application, it's automatically published and you can use it. Yeah. And this is like really impressive. Yeah. If within like 1.5 hours since I started the experience, I have a application up and running. Yeah. And okay, that's the final test. I'm planning to go to Berlin, taking my beautiful family with me, relaxation culture, and let's see what's the plan. And okay, we are flying. Okay, and here we are. We have an application. Your travel plan is ready. So this is that was a nice experience. And it was my first time developing the application with Lovable. Probably the fact that I know a little bit of development, it helped me. Yeah? So this is the same application built with 2 different platforms. So that's you saw the process, you saw the end results. What I think it's nice at this moment to talk a little bit about our experiences in using it. And I know, Radu, you want to share your
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, obviously, my experience was way longer than yours. But for me, at least, as I said previously, since I have design experience and experience with web builders, so a minimal, I guess, experience with designing for web, it probably was a bit more easier for me than it would be for regular people who don't know anything about that. Since you have to like go through the documentation a bit and watch some tutorials to learn how to use the app and to be able to build something. So you can't just start building right away. But when you get the hang of it, it's quite intuitive. And what I think is a very important thing is the customization aspect, as since you can precisely make edits and modifications and change anything however you like without having to like wrestle with the chat and finding the right prompt and so on.
have
You
a
can just,
predictable output.
yeah, you can just
The
go
deterministic
and
process.
point at what you want changed. Yeah.
Got it, yeah.
What about you? How was your first-hand experience with Lovable?
Well, it was really impressive. So the kind of things and the speed that you have, it's really good. So I was very nicely impressed of the kind of things that it's producing. I was a little bit I don't know, it was a mixed feeling. So it went very fast, but then I realized that actually you need to tweak some things around. And I think that's where it has to improve a little bit more the experience. Yeah. But was definitely a good experience. Yeah. It's I feel I'm still wondering if you are doing like complex projects, how you can manage it. I know myself as a developer how I will do it. I don't know about like a non-technical person how I'm wondering how it will manage, but probably I think the user experience in low code will actually go towards we'll try to combine the best of the both worlds. Yeah, that's what I feel.
The an advantage here is that you have access to the code. So on Bubble, you don't have that. So you aren't able to take that app somewhere else.
Yeah, and actually, like in my case, I actually connected the GitHub and looked through the code in the backend as well, and that's really a cool stuff. And I think this is really great, yeah, because actually you can see the raw code in there, and then you can actually control it in a way that you are doing, but from the development perspective, yeah. And even in Lovable, they had like you can actually tweak some properties on some elements, but not like probably 5% to what you can do in Bubble stage. Yeah. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, please drop them on the chat. Yeah, we'll be happy to take them. We are like 2 more slides into it, and then we'll start in the Q&A sessions. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the landscape and the dynamics. We believe that the market is more or less split in 2 types. It's like the traditional and challengers or established players. What you see here in terms of names are more applications that are used by larger enterprises. Challengers there, you have beside Lovable, there's V0 from Vercel or Bolt. Those are really good alternatives as well. It's different profiles for them. Usually, I think developers will adopt much easily tools like Cursor, Windsurf, or GitHub Copilot to help them, or C-Line. And actually, it's the same experience that you can have with those development assistants. And usually, developers will stay there, will not use probably at this stage Lovable because they can do the same things with those kind of tools. But yeah, for like non-technical and entrepreneurs, those solutions are really, really great and will actually, I think, will contribute to some changes that we'll see around in terms of new applications, new services, speed. I think there will be more things delivered, enabled because of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also the most powerful advancement that could probably exist would be like having this kind of a chat assistant inside the low code app. So people can easily pick this app up, and if they get stuck, they are able to be helped by a chat which understands the context of what you're building and the context of the platform itself. The way I did with ChatGPT, for example, it would have been helpful to have it inside Bubble so it knew exactly what I need, and it would also be able to generate components, sections, pages based on the platform itself.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an
Uh,
important next step in this area.
And probably one of the questions why we have this presentation right now, we believe that probably within the next month, some of the players from the traditional world of low code will actually add this functionality to their platforms, especially that they've seen the success of the challengers. And I think it will be a big boost for them. Yeah, I think it will be a different experience for their existing customers, but it might be a big boost in adopting those kind of platforms. So that's something very interesting to look into. Yeah, and especially if like you are a small or medium company or enterprise company which is already using it. Okay, and if you want to actually think which tool to use, I would suggest to look at it from two different perspectives. You know, compare the complexity of the application that you want to use with the software engineering skills, and depending on where you are on this scale, you can either go for the traditional low-code platforms, or you can go with the new type of platforms that are appearing. At this stage, I think those new platforms are tailored to applications which has low complexity at the beginning, at least, or you have to have software engineering skills, and then it goes very nice hand to hand. Yeah, if you have a high complexity and lower software engineering skills, you should actually go towards traditional platforms. Yeah, but guys, I think the challenges will move quite fast in this space. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I think, Radu, do you have some questions?
Yeah, we actually already have some questions in the chat. Can you see them as well, or I think you can
Yeah,
come.
I can see it. So I think let's.
So first of all, who are the adopters inside the company, the development or the business teams?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think the developers will have the tendency to at least currently to stay within AI assisted space. Well, I think they're still probably doing development the old way of doing, but they will stay in the area of AI assisted development. And the business users, I think it depends. I think we should actually look on how startups are doing. And if you remember about the code at the beginning of the presentation, the one with the Y Combinator, and the startups which are very agile, if you have business users which are agile and are pushing for it, like, you know, build me a prototype, build me an MVP faster, and so on, they will actually be the one which will able to convince the organization to evolve. And then developers will actually look how they can adopt the low code development tools, or how they can work with them, and so on. So I think it's a little bit of how you are thinking about this problem and how you want to approach it. Yeah, but I will go back to that. Yeah, and remember, those guys which are building startups, they are thinking both technology and the business problem that they want to solve, and they're pushing for it. And in an organization, the business user should push for it. There are tools out there which can speed up. Yeah, can be more agile, and then, you know, the entire organization will follow. Yeah.
Okay. Also, everyone, don't forget to complete the survey we just left in the chat. Another question, how we should ask AI to get it to do the things for us in the chat? Do we need to use a template or just keyword? I think, again, it's referring to Lovable. So Do you think you needed to use like a certain wording to get it to do what you want, or?
Not so much as a wording. What I think it's important is to understand at this stage the components that are going into an application. Yeah. So if you think about, if you understand where the user interface are, where business services are, database storage and stuff, things like that will actually help you much more than how you build up the prompts. Yeah. You
So
need
I
to have a little to understand
I,
a little bit the ecosystem and the kind of things that you can play with. Yeah, it's like puzzles, and how, and to a certain extent on what those puzzles depend, like configuration, stuff like that. But it's more important to understand what are the, like a good architecture application without going too much to technical, how it should look like, what kind of services you should use. This is much more important than the prompting, yeah, because actually,
so I
and
can't just for example, what we did, I cannot just go to Lovable and tell him, okay, I want a travel itinerary app. Those are the inputs, those are the outputs. Do you think it would have made do with just that?
yeah, I think he will create something, but probably it will not be, having a design which is well thought about ergonomy and stuff like that. He will produce something. And I can tell you from my experience, it's quite nice. But usually you need to show him the kind of things. Yeah. So it's good to talk with him beside prompts, talk with him with images, like show things. Yeah. Like if you have an idea, you can combine, okay, I've seen this service and this service, and I want to look like that and like that. Give
I
him more
think
hints and understand how the building blocks should fit together, and you are good. And if you are
I
stuck, I'm
Yeah, I think
Colas.
even since you can also give it images, I think you can also give it images from other apps, and it would be able to like figure out what you want and do something based on that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Uh,
Uh, okay. Another question. Who do you think will win platforms like Bubble or like Lovable? I think we kind of concluded that probably a combination of the two would be the winner. Right now, I think both of them are more for MVPs and POCs and stuff like that, and smaller apps. I don't think both of them are really equipped for enterprise use or more complex apps. So maybe something that combines these two approaches will win in the end, I think.
yeah, I don't think there will be one side which will win it on. I think it's respect to applications like Lovable and the guys that are building them. They come with new paradigms and they show it how it should be, and this is really great. And actually, it's moving the other guys to develop better products. I think those experiences will merge together. I think specialized low code platforms will still be in place. Like, okay, like if you take low code in Salesforce, for example, that will be there, and you will have to use that because you have the data in Salesforce, and it's just about how making them, helping you build better user experiences with that one. So you need to look both of what they are offering besides just the user experience. Yeah, because the user experience, I think it will be, they will start to adopt or be inspired one from the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question we have, will low-code deprecate developers? My opinion is at right now, no. In the future, maybe, but there probably will exist a different kind of developer for this.
I think low code will migrate towards AI development, or AI system development will migrate more towards that direction. And I don't think it will deprecate. I think good software engineers, which they understand what they are building, they will be like 10 times more powerful. And it's important to, I think this is why actually, skills and understanding what you want to build and how the technology works, that will be really, really good. And just use those tools as, being more efficient, and it's delivering better quality faster, and that's where it goes. But I don't think it will be deprecated. Yeah, it will be deprecated if you don't want to adopt this kind of tools and use them and work better. Yeah, in that case, yeah, you might be outphased, but I don't think. I think they will coexist together. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And the last question, and if we can wrap it up in like 4 minutes, I've not adopted low code until now because I'm afraid of being locked in. Any thoughts on this?
Oh, those are good questions. From this perspective, personally, I will go in for low-code platforms that give me access to code. Yeah. So that's the answer to the locked in. If you use a low-code platform, which is where you don't have access to code, then okay, you are you are not in a nice position. Yeah. Unless that platform has something besides the low-code environment, like the data or some specific know-how or specific services which you cannot find to other providers. But in that case, you are going for that there, yeah? Other than that, just use a local platform which can give you access to the code, and the future of the low code is both doing things faster, but having access to the code, and then you are like better positioned to go in different directions, have a roadmap, be independent, and so on. So it depends on, to just choose the right platform in that case.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. Just choose the right platform to use. Yeah. Okay. That was the last question.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for attending. This was a great session. Looking forward to have you back on the next webinars with us. Thank you. Thank you, Radu.
Thank you as well.